They laughed when she walked in, not because they knew her, but because they didn't. Wearing a basic pair of gloves and beginner's gear, Elena Cruz looked like any other hobbyist trying Muay Thai for the first time. No one in that gym realized. They were standing in the presence of a fighter trained by legends. 10 years in Thailand, hundreds of hours in the ring, a decade of discipline wrapped in humility. But today wasn't about showing off. It was about revealing the truth. Elena had left her real name, Elena Rivera, at the door, along with the armbands her Thai coach had once placed on her wrists. What she carried instead was her mission, to uncover the toxic undercurrent of a gym known more for intimidation than instruction. The receptionist barely looked up from his phone when she signed in. "First-timer?" he asked, eyeing her old shin guards with a smirk. "Sort of," she said with a calm smile. "Trained a little overseas." He raised an eyebrow. "Thailand? What, a retreat?" She didn't bother correcting him. Coach Brandon Voss noticed her, halfway through barking instructions at a group of heavy-set men slamming pads. Tall, scarred from years in the ring, Voss was a fighter-turned-teacher who believed pain was the best teacher, and humility was weakness. He walked over, eyes scanning Elena from head to toe like a poorly written scout report. "You here for cardio kickboxing, or are you actually trying to fight?" "Advanced class, if that's okay," she replied, meeting his gaze without blinking. Someone behind him chuckled. Another muttered, "She won't last 10 minutes?" Coach Voss grinned, but it wasn't friendly. "Advanced, huh? That's cute. All right, then. Let's see what Thailand taught you." It wasn't a welcome. It was a dare. Elena bowed slightly. "Thank you, Coach." He turned to the group, barking over his shoulder. "We've got a tourist, boys. Let's give her the local experience." No one clapped. A few laughed. And just like that, Elena was thrown into the deep end. Inside the locker room, her friend Jada was already waiting, stretching like any other student, phone discreetly positioned in her open gym bag. "They're setting you up," Jada whispered. "Leo's been bragging about knocking people out in sparring all week." "I know," Elena said, tightening the gloves that were worn from years of real fights. "That's why we're here." The gym was everything her research had said. It would be trophies lining the walls, mirrors polished to vanity, and an energy thick with ego. Fighters strutted between rounds, some throwing glances at her like she was a child walking into a war zone. The bell rang. Coach Voss gathered the group. "Before we start drills, let's welcome our guest. Elena, right?" She nodded. "Came from Thailand," he announced mockingly. "Must have trained at a beach bar between coconut drinks." A ripple of laughter spread across the room. Elena smiled faintly. What none of them knew was that she had trained under a Lumpini Stadium champion, that she had sparred with men twice her size and held her ground, that she had been forged in silence, not spotlight. She didn't need to prove anything. Not yet. Because this wasn't about ego. It was about exposure. As the class began, Elena moved with quiet precision, measured, controlled, just good enough to pass for intermediate. She let the insults come, the side comments, the condescending corrections from Coach Voss, who barked at her for foot placement while ignoring the sloppy form of his favorites. It was all being recorded. Every dismissive smirk, every intentional mismatch, every ounce of disrespect. And through it all, Elena stayed focused. She wasn't here to win a fight. She was here to shine a light. The real test had only just begun. By the third class, the pattern was clear. Every drill, every round, every choice Coach Voss made was intentional. Elena was never paired with students her size. Instead, he chose the biggest, most aggressive fighters in the room, men who treated sparring like a street fight, not a training session. "You sure you're in the right class?" One of them grunted, tightening his gloves. Another smirked. "Hope you brought ice packs." She didn't flinch. She absorbed every hit, countered just enough to stay believable, but never too much. That was the plan. Stay average, stay underestimated. Still, the bruises started to build. Coach Voss watched with folded arms. He didn't correct the roughness. In fact, he encouraged it. "Pressure her," he told one partner. "She needs to feel what a real fighter hits like." During pad work, Elena noticed something else. Every time she followed Coach's instructions precisely, he told her she was wrong. Too slow. Too soft. That's not how you throw a real teep. Then, when she adjusted slightly, doing it the correct way, he criticized her again louder this time. This isn't a yoga class. Hit like you mean it. But she didn't bite. She wasn't there to fight him. Not yet. She adjusted her stance, reset her breath, and waited. Then, it came. At the end of class, Coach clapped his hands sharply. His voice cut through the gym. Let's make this interesting. Gauntlet sparring, 30-second rounds, winner stays on, groans, chuckles, gloves tightened. This wasn't normal for a midweek class, but at Voss's gym, unpredictability was part of the culture. So was proving dominance. The fighters formed a circle. Elena stood quietly at the edge. Cruz, Voss called, singling her out. You're up first. She stepped forward without hesitation. One of the gym's heavyweights squared up, bouncing on his toes with overconfidence. Don't worry, he said. I'll keep it playful. The bell rang. Elena danced backward, just out of reach, letting him chase. She didn't counter. Not yet. Just evaded. Fluid. Efficient. Enough to frustrate, never enough to expose. When the bell ended, she stepped away untouched. Her opponent wiped sweat from his brow and muttered something under his breath. Next. Then next. Then another. Fighter after fighter stepped in, and every time, Elena slipped away. Clean, precise, untouchable. The energy shifted. Whispers began circling the room. She's fast. She reads everything. She's not just lucky. Coach. Voss narrowed his eyes. He wasn't smiling anymore. 5 rounds in, he raised a hand. That's enough, he barked. Let's finish with something fun. He scanned the circle, then pointed across. Elena versus Leo. The room went quiet. Leo stepped forward, a grin already stretching across his face. He was the gym's golden boy, undefeated in amateur bouts. A knockout artist. Voss's prize student. He rolled his neck slowly, stretching like a predator before the kill. You sure you're ready for this? He asked. Try not to cry. Laughter erupted. Even Voss cracked a grin. But Elena just bowed, wordless. She had played her role, taken the hits, absorbed the insults. Now came the moment her grandfather had trained her for. Not to dominate, not to embarrass, but to wake them up. The bell rang. Leo exploded forward like a cannonball, fists flying, confident in the outcome before a punch was thrown. This was supposed to be easy, a show for his friends, a lesson for the new girl. Elena didn't retreat. She didn't flinch. She waited. She had seen this same attack 100 times in Thailand. Same stance, same wide-open guard, same overconfidence. She sidestepped his opening jab, pivoted cleanly, and planted her lead foot. Leo lunged again, sloppy, aggressive, fast, but not faster than Elena's elbow. It cracked against the side of his jaw like wood splitting under pressure. The sound turned heads. He staggered. Before he could reset, her sweep came, sharp and exact. His legs lifted off the ground as gravity claimed him, and then as he hit the mat, the final strike landed, a body kick. Perfectly timed. Just hard enough to knock the wind out, not break ribs. 12 seconds. That's how long it took. The gym fell, deathly quiet. Leo didn't move. He wasn't knocked out cold, but he was done. Gasping for breath, eyes blinking in disbelief, body refusing to cooperate. The fighter they all admired had been dismantled like a first-timer. Elena knelt beside him, checked his pulse, gently helped him onto his side. Then, silently, she bowed. The way she had been taught. The way tradition demanded. No victory dance, no ego, just respect. Coach Voss stepped forward, red-faced and fuming. What the hell was that? He snapped. Elena stood calmly. She unlaced her gloves and pulled them off, revealing something none of them had expected. A weathered, hand-woven armband, prodigied, wrapped around her wrist. Faded from sun and sweat. A mark not of style, but of lineage. My name, she said, quietly, is Elena Rivera. Coach Voss froze. A murmur rippled through the fighters behind him. Elena continued, her voice steady. I trained at Sitkong Sak Camp in Chiang Mai, 10 years under Kru Arun Chai, former Lumpini Stadium champion. Voss's mouth opened, then closed. He knew that name. Every serious Muay Thai fighter did. I came here as Elena Cruz, she said, because I wanted to see how newcomers were treated, especially women, especially those who don't fit your mold. Jada stepped out from the circle, holding up her phone. Every round, every insult, every biased correction, all of it had been recorded. This wasn't about embarrassing anyone, Elena said. It was about exposing what's been normalized, the bullying, the gatekeeping, the mockery of anyone who walks in here just trying to learn. She looked around the room. Some fighters lowered their eyes. Others held her gaze, processing what they'd just seen. This gym teaches you how to hurt people, she said. But real Muay Thai? It teaches you when not to. She tapped the armband gently. My trainer gave this to me before he died. He told me Muay Thai is not just about strikes. It's about honor, discipline, humility. She turned to Coach Voss. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to remind you what this art really means. He didn't respond. But his silence said enough. 6 months later, the name above the door had changed. What was once Voss Muay Thai was now Rivera Combat Arts. The air inside felt different, too. Lighter, focused, alive. Where walls had once boasted only trophies and title belts, now hung portraits of champions and change-makers. A photo of Elena's late trainer, smiling in a crisp white kruang, held a place of honor by the entrance. Below it, a plaque read, Muay Thai begins with respect. Coach Voss still walked the mats, but the fire in his voice had changed. No longer a weapon, now a tool. He taught beside Elena, not above her, watching, listening, learning. Some of his old fighters had left, unable to accept the shift, but many had stayed and grown. And in their place came new students, women, teenagers, older beginners, people who had once felt too out of place to step foot inside a fight gym. Now they trained side by side. On a Thursday morning, Elena stood before a class of 20, knees bent, hands wrapped, breath synced to movement. She bowed. They bowed. Back. A teenage girl to her right threw a perfect roundhouse and smiled as her partner caught it. Good, Elena said. Again, but now with balance. Jada was in the corner, camera in hand, quietly documenting a new chapter, one built on the ruins of the old. And before the class began sparring, Elena walked to the front of the room and paused. She bowed once more, this time to the photo on the wall. Her mentor's eyes met hers across time. She could almost hear his voice. Real strength isn't in how hard you hit, but how many you lift up. And now, it was her turn to lift. Have you ever been underestimated just because of how you looked? Tell us your story in the comments. And if this one inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs the reminder. Sometimes the strongest fighters are the ones no one sees coming.